Hey, if you want to get rich, you should launch a course. No, you should do a mastermind. No, you should do high-end retreats. You should self-publish a book. You should become a speaker. What you should do is you should do destination retreats. No, if you're The Rock, it's like we're launching tequila and a clothing brand and a shoe line and a water company. And you go, multiple streams of income. I want multiple streams of income. And let me tell you, multiple streams of income is the stupidest piece of advice on the internet today. The reason is nobody who got rich from multiple streams of income. We have 5 billionaire clients, personally, that I work with. 5. All of them got rich from one thing. And this is the problem in the thinking, is we have too many topics to too many audiences on too many profiles with too many income streams and business models, and we bounce off the wall. And the reason that we bounce off the wall is because of a simple concept that I actually wrote about in my very first book, Take the Stairs, years ago, that says, we got 2 Take the Stairs fans, that's awesome. It was widely read. And here's what it said. When you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. When you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. And Lewis Howes was our first client. We never expected to be doing what we do today. We sold a company in 2018. I had been friends with Lewis. He called me up, said, hey, any chance you would be willing to help me? We're growing a lot. They had 30 million downloads at the time, and it takes 6 years or something to get to that. And I said, sure. So we took him through this exercise, and we call it the revenue streams assessment. And he listed out 17 revenue streams. And he was so proud of that because all of his friends are like free plus shipping and course and membership and summit and all these different things. And I was like, dude, if you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. You're a small business. It's really simple. If you have 10 units of resource, what's a unit of resource? Time, money, team, technology, prayer, focus, passion, whatever your units of resource are. If you have 10 units of resource and you divide them across 10 initiatives, each initiative gets an average of how many units of resource? It's not that hard math, okay? Forward, work with me. 10 units of resource across 10 initiatives. How many units of resource per initiative? 1. Very good, okay? Now, we didn't teach Lewis how to be a podcaster. We were the ones who said, Lewis, what would happen? Because at the time, his podcast was a traffic source for everything else. But what we realized is that was the thing that had the most natural momentum that he enjoyed doing, that was generating a little bit of revenue, not a lot of revenue, but it was easy. And we said, what would happen if instead of doing all of these things, we shut them all down and went all in on one thing? And to Lewis's credit, he did that. We shut down multi-million dollars of revenue in one conversation. Shut it down. I was teaching his mastermind with him at the time. Shut it down in one night. We announced to the team, hey, this is gonna disappear. And he went all in on the podcast, which is, we call that big cojones, where I come from, right? And that's what he did. And what happened is, over the next 2 years, he went from 30 million downloads to 500 million downloads. Not because of a podcast hack, not because of an algorithm or a famous guest or somebody sending an email blast, because of strategy, of going focus on fewer things and do them better. And if you put 10 units of resource on one thing, the likelihood that you're going to beat everyone else in that one thing goes way up exponentially. So this is why we all struggle, is because we're distracted. We have diluted focus. By the way, this is why I'm behind on my email, because I have big ambitions and I have big goals. The reality is that with my kids every day, this is what my life looks like. This is what I'm doing. You want to know what I'm doing? This is what I'm doing. So then you go, okay, so how do you break through the wall then? If you doing all these things is how you bounce off the wall, I'm going to share with you the single greatest piece of personal branding advice I've ever received. And I wish this was a Rory Vaden quote. This, unfortunately, is not a Rory Vaden quote. It's not from Brand Builders Group. It is from a mentor that I had early in my career, a guy named Larry Winget. And Larry said this, and the first time I heard it, I knew it was right. Larry said, the goal of a great personal brand is to find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. Find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. Why is Neil's business and brand and event growing? Because he's exploiting his uniqueness in the service of others. He's figured out what he's really good at, and he's using those skills and talents in the service of others. Visually, it looks like this. We want to figure out the one thing that you could become the world's greatest at. The one thing. Right? If you think about a wall, all right, just use the actual literal metaphor. If there's a concrete wall and I'm swinging a sledgehammer and I'm hitting here and here and here and here, nothing is going to happen to that wall. I'm just going to get frustrated and tired. But if I pick a spot on that wall and I hit it the same spot again and again, over and over, at first it will be frustrating just the same, but eventually the paint will chip. Then there will be a crack. Then there will be a divot. Then there will be a hole. And then sooner or later you will punch through one little spot. And as you punch through, you reach through that little spot and the entire wall comes crashing down. It is true, right? You're going to hear from the living legend, Gary Vee, in just a minute, right? Gary does so many things. He does so many things. But y'all, in the beginning, Gary Vaynerchuk talked about one topic, wine, on one platform, YouTube. And that is how he broke through the wall. Now, here's what's crazy. Once you break through the wall, you can do whatever you want. Gary can do whatever he wants. The Rock, Oprah, they can do whatever they want. They've broken through the wall. You haven't. Right? If you want to get people's attention, you have to become the world's leading expert, leading authority, best case, best in business, best example of X, and that's how you get there. And it is by answering one simple question in one word. And most personal brands spend hours and tens of thousands of dollars on all this stuff, and yet they cannot answer the first question of how you build a personal brand in one word, which is, what problem do you solve? In one word, can you answer that question? What problem do I solve? The reason that matters is because what people spend money on is they spend money on solutions to solve problems. That's why we spend money. We think that when we think of money, we think of luxuries like vacations and homes and cars and whatever. But in reality, you only buy those things if you have money. But if your kid gets sick, you find the money. Right? If the water heater breaks, you find the money. You get a flat tire, you find the money. So your business needs to be positioned as the solution to a problem to which there's always money available for in any economy, in any political environment, in any industry, in any geographic territory. And I'm going to use some examples, a couple examples here of people who are not clients, right? So let's look at one. Any Brene Brown fans in here? Yeah. Love Brene Brown, right? She's become one of the most influential, not just personal brands, the most influential people in the world. Now, she never set out to become a celebrity. I don't think she cares that much about being famous. I don't know her, but I go, what is Brene Brown? She's a researcher. For 2 decades, all she did was study one thing, shame. And she owns the topic of shame. You can't talk about shame and not have someone mention Brene Brown. She's the world's leading authority on shame. Dave Ramsey, another great example. A friend of mine, I've known Dave for a long time. He's had me speak at his conferences, but he's not a personal brand client. I've not advised Dave on his personal brand, yet it doesn't take a genius to go, the guy has built a huge business. Whether you like him or not, agree with his stuff or not, if you just go, he has 1,000 employees, multi-9 figures in annual revenue. That's hundreds of millions of dollars in annual revenue. 17 million people listen to him every week on the radio. He has 1 billion podcast downloads. And homeboy has been saying the exact same thing for 3 hours every single day. Debt is dumb, cash is king. And this is the place where the paid off home mortgage, where the BMW has been replaced by the paid off home mortgage as the status symbol of choice. Every day, the same 7 baby steps for free, over and over and over. That's a genius at work. Tony Robbins dedicated his life to solving and ridding the world of pain. James Clear dedicated his life to studying habits and writing about habits every single week after week. With Lewis, the one thing we helped him get clear on, other than the business model, was that self-doubt was what he was going to dedicate his life to solving. because he grew up a little bit awkward and he was made fun of, and that's why he got into sports. That was but he struggled with self-doubt, and after he got injured and he's living on his sister's couch, he's still struggling with self-doubt, and he's going, why isn't there a school that teaches you how to get past your self-doubt, that teaches you how to be great? Why isn't there a school of greatness? And it's not just business personal brands. This goes back in history. Look at Mother Teresa. She dedicated her life to ridding the world of poverty. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his life literally to solve the problem of inequality and racism. This is how I broke through the wall. When I was 29 years old, I hit the New York Times when I was 29, had a TED Talk that went viral that got millions of views, and my original expertise was studying procrastination. And all of my keynotes for the first 15 years of my career were teaching people the psychology of overcoming procrastination. And we were conducting research studies. We invented terms like creative avoidance, which is unconscious procrastination, and priority dilution. And we became the world's leading thinker, not because I was the smartest, but because I spent the most amount of time focused on a very narrow area. It's actually much easier than you think. It requires the discipline to say no, the discipline to stay focused, the discipline to not be so concerned about how everyone else is doing what they're doing, and to do your thing and stay in your lane and go all in on your thing. And then we sold that company. It was an 8-figure business. We had 200 team members. And then we were sitting on zero. I lost my social media. It didn't lose it. It sold. It went in the acquisition. Lost my podcast, lost my email list, my speaking client list. Everything was gone. We were on zero. And then Lewis called us the day we sold the company, and we started helping him. And so now we've gone from 0 to 8 figures, okay, Brand Builders Group, teaching people how to become wealthy and well-known in 5 years with no email, no debt, no investors, like working with some of the biggest personal brands in the world. How? Why? Because we only solve one problem, obscurity. That's what we do. That's what our team does. We study obscurity. How do you move from obscurity to notoriety? That's it. And we only do it for personal brands. We do not work with companies. We only work with individuals. We can work with a CEO, a CMO, but only for individuals. And you've got to be clear on what problem do you solve? What is the thing that you can do that nobody else that is better than anyone else in the world? And if you're not clear on that, get around people who can. Be in the masterminds, right? Join the coaching. Talk to Neil, their team. Like whatever you got to do to get clear, because you have to sell the problem as much as you sell the solution. You have to become an ambassador of the problem. You have to celebrate the problem. You have to quantify the problem. You have to explore the problem, study the problem, research the problem, and then you develop expertise in a very specific way, in a very pinpoint way that goes, you are the authority on blank, and nobody can really challenge that. Now, I know that everybody goes, well, is there a shortcut? Is there a secret shortcut? Because when we work with people, we tend to work with them for a few years. But there is a shortcut, and I'm going to tell you what the shortcut is, because I know that's what y'all want. And we didn't know this when we started the company, but we know it now as we started training other people. And when you see this, you're going to think it's too simple. But I'm telling you, this is it. Like 99% of the time when we've helped somebody break through the wall, one of our clients right now is Dr. Gabrielle Lyons. She's doing this right now. She is on the move. She's crushing it. We love her. She's doing so many things, all the right things. She's such the right person. And she does this. And all of the people that you've heard of. And here's what it comes down to realizing. For every single one of us in here, you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. You are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. If there is a secret shortcut, if there is a fast way, if there's a way to cut the corner, cut the curve, it is realizing that all of us have the credibility, the power, the insight, the knowledge, and the skill to help the person we once were.